Talmor, Shishin Magachi. Talmor is my home. My family have worked the land for generations. My gran says the island does not belong to us, but we belong to the island. And we must be ready, for a great evil is coming, and death follows with it.
Listen and subscribe to the latest season of Undertow, The Harrowing, a Storyglass production presented by Realm, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Alexis Ohanian. You may know me as one of the co-founders of Reddit, but more recently, a large part of my identity is being a father to my wonderful daughters. In my podcast, Business Dad, I hope to open the conversation about working parents a bit. You'll get to hear from a wide range of business dads, from Rainn Wilson and Guy Raz to Todd Carmichael and Shane Battier, to find out how they balance being a dad with a successful career. Business Dad is available now, so be sure to listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, world, and welcome back to another episode of Thanks for Coming In. I'm your host, Jillian Clare. It's been a very, very long and crazy week for me, so I didn't have the chance to interview someone new. But what I thought would be fun this week is to take a look back on some of my favorite audition stories we've heard so far on the show. From the very beginning. This is episode 40, which is wild to me. I can't believe this is my 40th episode. So, because we're celebrating the big 40 today, I'm going to reshare some of my favorite stories. To kick us off, I thought we'd start with one of my favorite stories from Mr. Eric Martzoff. He was my first episode, has been a great friend for a very, very long time, and this story just broke my heart wide open, and it was so fun to hear it. So here is a fantastic story from the great Eric Martzoff.
I'm with a manager at the time. I was with Brooke Bundy with Monster Management or whatever. I don't even think I had an agent, but she was able to get me this audition for this comic book movie or something. They were gonna make this movie out of X-Men.
Oh my God.
At the time, I was like, okay, another X-Men. Like, well, come on. Even the name it's just ridiculous. This isn't going to go.
Oh, no.
And at the time, it was like summertime, and I think I put some lemon juice in my hair. I was like Lisa and I were just goofing around. We're like just at the pool all day and like throwing stuff in our hair. And like I had like this blonde streak going through my head or something. I don't know.
Did you have like Justin Timberlake hair?
It was maybe something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I had some blonde something going. I just remember having a streak in my head.
I need a picture of this.
More like Stripe from Gremlins. I think that's what I look like.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I go in and read for this thing, and I'm kind of sitting there. I'm kind of a cocky younger kid. I'm just like, oh, whatever. I'm reading this. It was for the role of Cyclops. And the way the breakdown was that this movie was going to be centered around Cyclops. He is the guy. He's the leader of the X-Men.
Oh my God.
The whole movie is about him, period. And I'm going out for the main dude. First read, I get a call back. I get a second call back. I think I got like a third call back. And then I was told that I'm going to be testing with the goggles that Cyclops wears, the eyewear, at studios. I believe it was Fox at the time.
Wow.
And now I'm getting excited. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a superhero. This is going to be great. I'm going to be a superhero movie star. Maybe this movie will do well. I don't know. Hopefully it will.
Maybe. Who knows?
So
who cares about X-Men?
I do the screen test. I don't remember seeing James Marsden there, who eventually became Cyclops in that series. But I knew it was only a couple guys. And went back, and a couple days later, we're waiting to hear. My manager calls me up. She's like, I have bad news. I'm like, no.
Oh, no.
She's like, yeah, listen, it has nothing to do with you, which agents love to tell you, right? Nothing to do with you.
Yeah, that's a famous line.
The problem is that they found this guy, and they want to recenter the whole movie around him. And I was like, what do you mean they found a new guy? Who? Like a new
What?
Cyclops? And they were like, no, they found this guy named Hugh Jackman. And they found
No.
him singing Oklahoma I believe he was singing, doing Oklahoma in Canada. He was doing
Oh
the
my
bright
God.
orange days on the meadow, whatever that role was. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where they got him from.
No
And they
way.
basically said to me, they've decided to make the whole movie around Wolverine, as opposed to Cyclops is going to become a secondary character. And
This is
apparently,
crazy.
and they said apparently because your physique is similar to Hugh. I was really jacked up at the time and big. I was like 25 pounds heavier. I was a maniac.
Jesus.
They said you're too similar to this guy.
Oh
So they
no.
want to make Cyclops smaller in stature to Wolverine. So they went with another guy.
Such a good story. Oh, so good. All right, next up we have one of the stories that had me laughing the hardest, and I still think about to this day because I think it is brilliant. This story is from Lisa DeRue, who is episode 18 on the show. You're gonna laugh. Have a good time.
Where to start? So, my favorite bad audition story ever was it wasn't even for anything big. It was this little commercial they were filming here, but one of the questions was, "Do you dance?" And because I started later, like I'm a really good mover dancer, but I'm not a prima ballerina, right? But I can move really well. It's all good. So I was really pushing my age, and I was like, "Come on!" Like I was new to Vancouver. I was like, "Come on!" He's like, "Lisa, really? You want me to really push for this?" Like, okay. It was like no pay. It was just a commercial, but at the same time, I was gonna prove to the world I could do this. So then I go in and I brought my own music. I choreographed a routine. And granted, I'm already like 28 years old at this point. So it's not exactly like I'm a hot 16-year-old Brit dancer. So I go in with my own
I feel
music.
personally attacked. I just turned 28. Okay.
Oh, well, you got good for you. I'm jealous of your skin right now. So then so you and your collagen, good for you. So I go in and I go to play my music. They're like, "Oh, no, we have music." I was like, "Oh, okay,
Oh
cool, right?"
no.
That's okay. So they put on this little tiny CD recorder in the back of the room, and you can hardly hear it. And it was like this, like music, like totally not anything that unless you were high at a club, you could even remotely do anything to. And I was like, "Oh God." So then I was like, okay. So then I started like doing all these moves and dancing. I just went for it. Like in my own head, I was like, "You're going for it, girl." And then all of a sudden she stops me and she's like, "Are you going to say the lines?" And I was like, "What?" I never
Oh god.
once looked at the script to actually look at the lines. All I could care about was getting my moves down. I didn't realize there was lines. Like I'd never done that in my life. I was mortified. So then I quickly looked at them and like tried to memorize them. So then they came out so brutal, just like a horrible machine gun of like lines that made no sense. And then because the music was still going and I was out of moves, the only thing I could think to do was to turn and grab my chair and kick my legs in the air like a donkey kick. And I almost kicked the reader in the face. And then they're like, okay, thank you. That's it. And the poor reader, she's like, "Oh my God." I'm like, I'm so sorry. Okay, great. And they're like, "Thanks so much for coming in, Lisa." And I walked out the door, and as soon as I closed the door, they erupted. They were laughing so hard because it was so pathetic. So that was probably my all-time favorite bad audition story.
I love that story so much. I can't tell you about how many times I think about it, literally per week, that she straight up did a donkey kick and nearly kicked the reader in the face. I just think it's so brilliant. Lisa, a gem of a story, just a gem. Next up is my friend Denzel Whitaker with a very sad birthday story.
I remember there was this one time, there was this part I really wanted. I forgot was it Superhero High School or something? Do you remember that Disney show where it's about like a black family and they were superheroes?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Wait,
A movie that it came out.
I do remember I remember seeing it, but I don't remember the name.
I don't remember the name either. But I'll put it like this. I wanted that role so badly. And I did the callback, and we even had like the session after that for network. And I remember it was my birthday. I didn't
Oh
win very much
gosh.
that year. My agent calls me, tells me I didn't get the job, and I'm sitting in bed like watching, I think, Dragon Ball Z or something like that. And I remember just like crying for
Yeah.
my birthday because I didn't
Yeah.
get the job. Yeah. And yeah, that was probably like one of those moments where it's like, nothing's really guaranteed to you.
Make sure to listen to Denzel's episode. He was episode 16. It's one of my favorite conversations I've had on the show so far, so tune into that. All right, next we have a heartbreaking story from my dear friend Adam Chambers. He was episode number 2, and this one gets you right in the heart.
So I went on my agent. My agent at the time was like, "Do you know sign language?" And I said, "No." And they were like, "Well, we have a client that's on our roster who's like a psychiatrist to deaf people. You could go to him, and he could teach you the sides in sign language." And I was like, "Sure,
wow.
cool," because he was like, "It's a good role and it's a good opportunity and stuff." And I was like, "Okay, sure." So I go to this guy's office down on like Wilshire and like right in Century City, like or right in the mid city area. And he has a beautiful office and I sit there for like an hour. I paid the guy like $30-$40 or something like that. And
Hey,
he
that's
taught
a
me
good
sign language.
deal.
No, totally. But it was like, he was also like, this is my agent's, it was like his agent as well. So he obviously didn't want to screw me too hard. So he, I was there for like an hour or something and he taught me, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I had these 2 big monologues, like big monologues that I had to learn and a couple other lines. So at the end of the day, I'm really learning like a hand dance, right? I'm not learning sign language. I'm learning moves for this. And
Right, you're just
so
memorizing the
just
specific
memorizing this
like
specific
sides.
stuff. Exactly. I don't actually have to know it, I just have to know the memorization of it. And it was one of those rare ones where I had like 5 days, before it.
Whoa. You
I
had
know,
5
like
daes before an audition?
it
Excuse
was
me?
like a weird 4 or 5 day thing. I knew I had a weekend. I remember that for sure. And every part of this is so clear. I remember I would go to it was at Paramount, and it was at those trailers on that Lemon Grove side of Paramount. That right where you check in, and I went into those trailers, and I get in. There was like two or three guys in the little waiting area there. Girl comes out. She's kind of young. She brings me in eventually, and I do the scene for her. And I do the scene for her, and she says, she literally first thing she goes, "You're not deaf?" And I was like, "No." And then she goes, "I've only seen deaf people, and that was the best one." And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome.
Oh my
That's great.
gosh.
Like, what do we do
Okay.
now?" So like, what do we do now? And she goes, "Can you just do it again one more time? I just need it." So we do it again. I do it again. She goes, "Okay, hold on a second." And she leaves the room, and she brings this guy back in the room, and we sit and we talk and we meet and we converse. And she's a writer, director, and stuff. And so then we start talking about football, and we start casually talking. And I do the scene for him, and he says the same thing. He is like, "Yes, that's it, exactly. Thank you."
Wait, so
And he was
this is like the writer that they've brought in?
he was like in another room in this trailer. This
How
trailer is
bizarre
like a
is that,
multi-office
too?
thing. He's the writer and he's the director, and he's like gonna come in. He's like she went into the room to go get him. Was like, "You need to see this person."
Wow. Okay. All
It was
right.
super weird. So I do it for them or him, and then he was like, "Yes, definitely, we're gonna be in touch for sure." So he leaves the room. She then says to me, I'll never forget this. She goes,
Oh,
"Can
God.
you go outside and smoke a cigarette?" And I was like, "What?" And then she's like, "I need to smoke a cigarette." And I was like, in my brain, I was like, "I don't smoke cigarettes," but I was like, "Totally, for sure, 100. I will smoke
I
every
will
cigarette.
do that right now.
I'll smoke all of these cigarettes that you have." And so we went out. There was dudes in the lobby still, and
Oh,
her and I are
no.
sitting outside this trailer smoking cigarettes. And she is telling me, "You're it. This is it. I'm so excited." She's just shooting me so hard on this stuff.
Oh
And I
my
was
God.
like, "Okay, what the hell is happening?" So I leave. My agent calls me like that day or the next day, and he's like, "Yeah, this is happening. You did whatever you did was right on." So they start telling me that I'm gonna like where I'm gonna go and how much I'm gonna make and like this whole thing.
All the
And I was like,
beautiful
"Okay,
things that you love to hear where you're like, "Oh, I'm
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
do
yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
my
yeah."
career's
And
finally gonna
so
pay off."
yeah, and so then a couple days later, I get a call from my agent, and they're like, "The Deaf Association is I'm happy that a deaf actor is playing a deaf role, and you're not going to get it. And the movie turned out to be There Will Be Blood.
Definitely one of the sadder stories that I've had on the show, for sure. All right, now we're going back to episode 5 with the darling Patrika Darbo, who I adore so much. Here's her story.
The big one that got away. Well, I told you that I got to reprise my role in Daddy Stein, Who's Got the Will, the film.
Yeah.
And Sissy Spacek's husband was the director. And Sissy sent me a script. She said, Patrika, this is your script. This is wonderful. I just got this. And I don't think there's a part right for me in here, but it's your script. And she sent it to me and I read it and flipped out. I went, oh my God, it is mine. Sissy, thank you. Then I'm with my agents and everything like that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I didn't even get to read for it. The show was
what?
called Fried Green Tomatoes.
Oh no.
And the offer went to Kathy Bates right away. But Kathy had an Oscar, and who was Patrika Darbo?
Right.
So,
But oh my God. You didn't even get to audition.
no, that's always the tough thing when you don't get to audition. But you know what? I'm sure there are people out there that go, damn that Patrika Darbo, she got that part and I really wanted it. So
It's true. It's true.
it's that's the way it goes. It was a very sad thing that I didn't get it. A very sad thing I didn't even get to read for it. But I'm still here. I'm still working, as is Kathy Bates, and I'm sure other people that I might have taken a role from that they felt I did. So,
and
the
I
best
mean,
thing is,
I guess if you have to lose a role to someone, Kathy Bates is a great person to lose a
I
role
would
to.
say absolutely, honey. And you know, I'm very grateful that Sissy thought that it was a good thing for me, and you know, but we go on.
A truly fantastic story from Patrika Darbo. Now I'd like to take a journey to episode 22 with the marvelous Keith Powell.
I just got another job where I'll be recurring on a major television show, a major
exciting
award-winning TV show.
Ooh, congrats.
You'll be able to connect the dots once I tell you this story.
Okay.
So I got this job and I wanted to watch an interview where the lead actor of this show was on. And the lead actor of the show talked about auditioning for The People versus O.J. Simpson.
Oh.
And I auditioned for that show. And I auditioned for the Christopher Darden role. And I very much remember, and I didn't get it, obviously. I very much remember asking my manager, should I go bald for this role? Like, should I shave my head like Christopher Darden did? And put on glasses? And my manager said, no, save that for the callback.
Oh.
And so I went in and I auditioned for the Christopher Darden role with my full hair. And I walked into the room and every single other person in that room was bald. And I was like, damn it. And watching the actor who got the part have this interview, it's saying that when he got the audition for this Christopher Darden role, he immediately shaved his head.
You're like, damn it. Should have shaved my head.
So that was it. That's one of the things where I'm just like, would I have gotten that part if I'd shaved my head? Of course I wouldn't have. But, you know, it's fun to think about.
A fantastic story from Mr. Keith Powell. And I'm sure you've put 2 and 2 together. Keith is now on This Is Us. He's such a great actor and a great director and a great creator. And I mean, just a fantastic human. So check out his stuff. He's really great.
As a podcast network, our first priority has always been audio and the stories we're able to share with you. But we also sell merch, and organizing that was made both possible and easy with Shopify. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell and grow at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the did we just hit a million orders stage? Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell everywhere. They have an all-in-one e-commerce platform and in-person POS system, so wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. With the internet's best converting checkout, 36% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms, Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers. Shopify has allowed us to share something tangible with the podcast community we've built here, selling our beanies, sweatshirts, and mugs to fans of our shows without taking up too much time from all the other work we do to bring you even more great content. And it's not just us. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US. Shopify is also the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Because businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/REALM now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/realm. You can shop from anywhere doing pretty much anything. You might shop while working, eating, or even listening to this podcast. And however you shop, we all know and love the thrill of the hunt. But do you also know how to get the thrill of the best deals? Because Rakuten shoppers do. With Rakuten, they get the deals they love with the most savings and cash back. And you can get it too. Start getting cash back at your favorite stores like Sephora, Nike, and even Expedia if you're looking to get some travel in. And getting cash back doesn't mean you have to miss out on sales because those can just be stacked right on top. It's easy to use and based on a simple idea. Stores pay Rakuten for sending them shoppers, and Rakuten shares the money with you as cash back through PayPal or check. Download the free Rakuten app and never miss a deal. Or go to Rakuten.com to start getting the most bang for your buck. That's RAKUTEN.
Next up on this fun recap episode is a story from the incredible David Dastmalchian. I love this story. It's a really good one. So listen up, actors, because there's a lot to learn here.
I have two.
Okay.
One is they're important stories. I think they're good to share with people. One of them is it was a bad experience, but it's funny now looking back on it. When I had already shot my role in The Dark Knight. It had not come out yet. I was in Chicago still. I was wrapping up a production of. It was either The Glass Menagerie or no. I had. You know, I need to correct myself. Okay. So it's April of 2007. I had auditioned for The Dark Knight. The part that I auditioned for was one of the clowns at the beginning of the film. And so they had shot that scene. So I had been devastated to realize that I did not get the role, right? I was really sad. So about a month later, but I had just started rehearsals for a really powerful production of Othello at the Writers Theater in Chicago. So I was going to be doing that for the next couple of months. So I kind of licked my wounds. I'm a huge comic book nerd. So whenever I had time off, I was sneaking down and trying to get pictures at the Batman set. And like, I was still like, but I was sad that I didn't get the part. And about a month later, I got a last minute audition. I had to leave. We were in like Tech Week for Othello. I had to leave a little bit early to go without. This was before cell phones and PDFs were sent. You had to like go pick up your sides, somewhere.
Oh my God. Yes.
And it was for a new Larry the Cable Guy movie. And I drove from this audition or from my tech rehearsal at the theater, and it was a nighttime audition. They were squeezing me in at the very end.
Wow.
I was racing through traffic to get to this Larry the Cable Guy audition. It wasn't at one of the regular casting directors' offices. It was just they had pre-production rented an office somewhere in downtown in Chicago. So I get there, I get to the lobby, I sign in, I get the sides. And because of my last name, one of the struggles I faced in Chicago, especially for film and television, almost any audition I got was either for a terrorist or a like a cab driver. I was only given auditions for film and television by like ethnic characters. That wasn't true for the commercial casting director, but for the rest of casting directors. And I always kind of was frustrated because yes, my last name is Iranian. My dad was born in Iran, but I am a blend of Irish, Italian, Iranian, English. Like I don't define myself by any particular nationality or race. So I always wanted to get to audition for these other roles. And isn't it ironic that it took John Papsadera, LA casting director, who everyone said LA was so surface, who comes to Chicago, and he's the person that cast me in a non-ethnic role in a movie. But anyway, so this Larry the Cable Guy audition, I look at the sides and I immediately get that sick feeling in my stomach. Here's the scene. God. The scene is a motel clerk who owns a motel who is written to have a pretty goofy, silly dialect. I'm guessing that they were like non-specifically some, Indian or Pakistani type of character.
Right.
And then Larry the Cable Guy is going to walk in to get a room. And I say, you can't get a room without a credit card. He doesn't have a credit card. And we go back and forth about how if you don't have a credit card, you can't get a room. So then he pulls out this fake badge and says he's with the Department of Homeland Security.
Oh,
and
God.
If I don't give him a room, then he's going to have to call his bosses. And then, of course, the joke is I immediately hand him a stack of towels and like some key cards or whatever.
Yeah.
So I walk into the room. And the people there, I don't remember who it was. Is probably the director, the producers. Larry the Cable Guy was not there, but they, were nice enough. But my heart was not in it, and I wanted to just leave. And I said, he said, "Well, we heard you were coming from somewhere," and I said, "Yes, I'm in the middle of Tech Week for Othello, and I did a take of this scene, and I just felt so gross. And then I said, I have to get back to tech rehearsal. I couldn't do it again, and I left. And it was and when I left, I said, I don't want this. I don't want to do this.
Right.
I just it's not right for me. And thank goodness, you guys, 3 months later, Othello closes in July. Don't forget my first audition, my only audition for The Dark Knight, except for I had auditioned on one day in April and the next day come in for a callback with the director. That was in the beginning of April. In July, we closed Othello. I had no work lined up. I was very stressed. And my agent called and said, "You've been offered a role in The Dark Knight. It's a very secret role. They won't say what it is, but yada yada yada." So I think it's a great story for actors to hear, because you have to listen to your gut. You have to trust your instinct, and sometimes it's our jobs as actors to force or to find ourselves in the material and to say yes to opportunities. I've always believed you should say yes to opportunities because you never know what can come of the opportunities. But there are times when you really have to listen to your heart and your gut and then go, "Yeah, I don't think so."
I encourage every actor who is listening to this podcast now, if you're just starting out, if you've been doing it for forever, go listen to David's episode. He is really, really inspiring. And it's great to hear someone talk about their experience and all the struggles they went through and how great things have turned out. It's episode 23, so definitely check that out. I'm going to end this lovely little recap episode thingamabob with a story from the darling Martha Madison, who I adore oh so much. Here it is.
Well, when I moved out to Los Angeles in 2003, I only knew a couple of people. I had a brand new agent. I had no idea about anything in the industry. But I was really close to booking a couple contract roles on soaps in New York. And so I knew that soaps was probably where I wanted to be because I was close, I was getting close. And Days of Our Lives was the show that I watched growing up. And it was one of the shows that shot in LA. So I had made up my mind. I was going to go for this whenever the opportunity came around. It was just one of those things I decided I really, really wanted. Flash forward to, I was a subscriber to Soap Opera Digest, and I got a Soap Opera Digest. And on the front page, it said, shocker, Kirsten Storms is exiting the role of Belle Black. And I was like, ooh, I could play that. I totally could play that.
You're like, I got this. This is mine.
So I called my agent. I said, you got to get me in for this role. And she said, okay. And then she called me back. She said, yeah, they passed. They said, you're just too old. And I said, too old?
Way.
And they said, yeah, the actress that plays her now is much younger, and the whole group, they're just younger. And so I thought, I was really disappointed, and I slept on it. And the next day I got up and just thought, no, I'm not taking no. So I dug through a bunch of old boxes, and I found my headshot from like 7 years earlier.
Okay.
So I put that together with a resume, and I wrote a note, and I put it in the mail to Fran Bascom, God rest her soul, who was the casting director. And I thought, well, I'm just going to take this chance. And I mailed her a letter saying, I've been a fan of the show forever. Here's my headshot. I'm new to town. I know I can do this. Please, please, please see me. And lo and behold, about 2 weeks later, I got a phone call directly from Fran Bascom's office saying, you can come in tomorrow at 5:00. And tomorrow at 5:00 was Friday at 5:00. I was legitimately the very last person to audition for this role.
Oh my God.
And I felt like the audition went great. I was super prepared, of course. And she said, yes, come back in. You're going to go to producers next week. And I was like, holy shit.
It's happening.
It's
my
happening.
Dreams are coming true.
Right. But more than anything, I was just so excited. I get to go to the set of Days of Our Lives. This is amazing. So I went in for the producer session, and there were probably about 10 or 15 other girls there. And of course, you're sitting in this tiny room with all these other people who are about to take your dream job, and it's very nerve-wracking, and everyone's sizing everyone up. And I got really nervous, and I went into this producer session with the executive producers and the head of the network in their office. And I proceeded to give what I thought was the worst audition of my life. I could, that feeling, you can feel it sucking, but you can't stop the suck.
You're just so far into sucking that you're like, I just got to get it over with.
Can we just say the line so I can run away as fast as possible? So it was one of those auditions, and I just felt terrible. I remember walking out to my car just in tears, like, I can't believe I had this opportunity teed up and I just blew it.
Ow.
So the next day, and I've cried all night. I probably drank myself to sleep that night, like all of us neurotic actors do, to try to forget this terrible experience. And the next day, I got a phone call from my agent, and they said, guess what? They loved you. You're going to a screen test. And I was like, what? What? And then I'm second guessing them. I'm like, God, maybe this is bad. Like, maybe I shouldn't go work for people who think that was good.
And these people are so blind.
So blind. What did they see? Did they mistake me with someone else? So anyway, I'm super excited. I'm going to go screen test with the actors. And I went, and I was in the makeup room. I'll never forget this. And Peter Reckel walked in, who played Beau Brady. And I look over, and he comes over, he puts his hand on my shoulder, and he's like, hi, I'm Peter. Are you auditioning today? And I was like, yes, I'm reading for Belle. Like, I was so nervous. So dumb.
Killing me.
So we go out. There's 4 of us screen testing that day.
Wow,
and
there's
4? I feel like that's a lot of people to be screen testing. It's usually only 2.
There were 4 people testing that day, but I learned that day that we were the 4th test group.
What?
They had tested about 20 other girls that they had passed on. And so we were the last 4. And
oh my
so,
God.
right, I went out there and I feel like I nailed it, right? Like I mean, I was not going to do what I did last time. And I walked off there going, nailed it, cried on cue, hit my mark, got the light right, looked cute. Like I was like, this is it. I'm getting it. And I remember walking off the stage and a couple of the makeup people were like, oh my God, you got it. It's going to be yours. It's going to be yours. And so I'm walking out of there going, oh my God, I just got this job. I'm going to get this job. And I go back to my restaurant job and I'm like, I can barely focus on my work because I'm so excited.
Dropping plates everywhere.
Right? I can't wait to like get the call. And the next day my agent called and she said, you know, sometimes the kiss of death in this business is wanting something too much. And I was like, what are you talking about? She said, they passed. They hired somebody else. And I just remember being crestfallen. I was just devastated and I just cried, you know, I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah. Because what do you do? It's like there's so much in this business as an actor where you don't have control over something.
Exactly. And you get so close and it's like you can already imagine all the ways in which your life is going to change. You know,
and like how great it is to like be able to go to work every day and have these connections and these people that you work with.
Right.
And
but even
not
more
have to worry about paying rent.
Right. Even more not having to go to the crappy job that you have that you don't want to go to every day.
Not having to do that damn day job.
Right. And so, you know, all those emotions came. And at the time, the show shot 3 weeks in advance. And so I only had to wait 3 weeks to see who got it. I didn't know who got it and how good. And I just thought, well, they must be like the best actress on the face, you know, because I felt really good about my audition. So I turn on the TV the day she's airing and I remember watching it going, okay, well, she's cute. She's petite. She has the same haircut as Kirsten did. Like she's definitely the right look.
Yeah.
You know, I'm kind of like, I don't know if she's like the right essence. You know, but I also, you know, granted it's her first day. That would be really hard. It's a lot of lines, you know, I'm doing the whole thing. But I'm thinking to myself, I must really suck.
Oh no.
You know, I must have really sucked. You know?
Because that's what happens as actors. You watch the people who book the roles that you want, and then you go to yourself and you're like, man, you're awful, huh?
Right. If I lost, you know, it wasn't anyway. So I need to find a new like line of work was really how I felt about it. And that I was never going to put myself in that situation again. I was ready to like shut down shop. And the very next day, which was a Tuesday, my agent called me in the morning and she said, I just got a phone call from NBC and they want to know your sizes and they want to know if you can get to the studio today. And I said, for what? And she said, I don't know, but they want your sizes and they want you to get there as soon as you can. Maybe they wrote you in. Maybe there's something, you know, they're going to give you an arc or something, but when can you get down there? And I said, well, I'm going to take a shower and look pretty and I'll be there in an hour. So
wow, that is so like nerve-wracking just getting that call and being like, okay, gotta go, bye.
Right. But my 100% expectation was I was going to walk in and they were going to be like, this day player didn't show up today and you did great in your screen test. So here we're going to give you this biscuit. Right. I walk in and the stage manager is like, oh, you're Martha, come with me. And I was like, okay. And they walked me upstairs to the executive producer's office, who was Steve Wyman at the time. And I walked in and he had this little clicker for the door, like a remote control door. I walked in and he like remote control shut the door and I was, you know, it's just the two of us alone in this office. And I was thinking, oh my God, what is happening? And he said, so Martha, sometimes in this industry, we make mistakes. And I said, you know, and I'm thinking, oh God, what did I do?
Yeah, you're like, oh shit, what happened?
What did I do? And
oh
he
no.
said, and, you know, in this instance, we've made a mistake in casting and we would like to offer you the role of Belle Black. And I I mean, my jaw.
Did you just fall to the floor?
I honestly kind of blacked out for a minute. Like, I don't really remember exactly what I did, but I do remember him like reaching under his desk and pulling out 2 scripts, and he handed me 2 scripts, and he said, "Now, I don't want you to panic, but I do want you to go down to hair and makeup, and you are going to get your hair and makeup done. Your wardrobe will be in your dressing room, and we have a dialogue coach coming to work with you because we're going to shoot these today."
Oh my God.
Like, I'm sorry, what? He said, we're going to shoot these 2 shows this afternoon, and it's going to be fine, and you're going to do great. And I just looked at him and I said, "Thank you so much. I won't let you down."
It's a long story, but it's one of my favorite stories. It's such a great Cinderella-like ending. And I just truly love it so much. And I love Martha. So I hope you enjoyed that story as much as I did. If you want to listen to her full episode, that would be episode 6 with Martha Madison. Thanks for tuning in to my little experimental episode. I enjoy putting this together and listening to some of my conversations again. And I hope you do too. Next week, I'll be back with an all-new episode with a brand new guest. And we'll be back on regular scheduling things, I guess. I don't know. I'm kind of having fun experimenting with what I want to do. But until then, make sure to follow the show on social media. Those links are in the show notes. If you're not subscribed, what the heck you doing? Subscribe now. Hit that little button. If you haven't rated us, reviewed us, gave us stars yet, that would be cool. You know, you could do that if you want to. I feel so weird asking you guys to do that stuff, but please do. And hey, I've been doing some fun stuff on the socials, on Instagram, on the podcast Instagram. So if you're not following us, head on over to Instagram, find us. Thanks for coming in podcast, and join the conversation. I love to hear from y'all, so hit us up. It was a pleasure sharing the last 30 some odd minutes with you, and I'll see you next week. And as always, thanks for coming in.
The thing that I fought tooth and nail to bring my son into is Dungeons and Dragons. That is the ultimate solution to parenthood.
I'm Alexis Ohanian. In my podcast, Business Dad, I'm hoping to open up the conversation about balancing careers and family. I talked to Rainn Wilson. I wanted to learn more about Rainn's advice to play D&D with your kids. Business Dad is available now, so be sure to listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.